Hello and welcome to the first in a short series of videos designed to get you up to speed on WebDriver testing. In this video we'll be looking just at getting your environment set up for WebDriver testing and what you need to do for that. Now, as you can see here, I have Visual Studio Ultimate 2012 RC installed. There are two other versions you could also use. You can use Visual Studio Ultimate 2010, or you can use Visual Studio Ultimate 2012 Express RC. Basically any Visual Studio that includes the unit test framework, as that's what we use to structure our WebDriver tests. So with that installed, the first thing we need to do is to create a unit test project. So we go to File, New, Project, and under Visual C# Test we should have a unit test project. If you don't see these options, you probably don't have the right version of Visual Studio installed, but if you do, then you should. So if I enter in the solution name, that should create a unit test project for us, and you can see here that we have the unit test tagging, so we know we do actually have a unit test class created. You can see over here it's produced a C# file called unit test1, which we're going to rename because we're not actually creating unit tests in the traditional sense. Okay, so now I should be able to build this and it should work. Good. Now, the next thing we need to do is to obtain and reference our WebDriver DLLs. So to do that, we go to code.google.com. Here it is, /p/selenium/download/list. Or if you Google WebDriver downloads, it'll probably be one of the first results. You can see here that these are all the downloads for the Selenium project, which WebDriver is a part of. And the one we're interested in is the .NET bindings for Selenium RC WebDriver. So we just go ahead and download that, which I've already done. It'll come down as a zip file, so we need to extract those. And in there we are going to be looking at inside the net40 directory. Should be two files we're interested in, webdriver.dll and webdriver.support.dll. So yeah, these two here. So what we need to do is we take a copy of the directory name where we've extracted them to. We go back to our IDE. In the Solution Explorer over here on the right, we right-click References and Add Reference. And then in the Browse section over here, we hit Browse, we specify the directory, and then we select the files we want. So select those two, webdriver.dll and webdriver.support.dll, and add. We make sure they're checked here, and OK, and those should be added below our references node, which we can see that. Also, while we're here, we're going to again right click and add reference, and this time in assemblies we're going to add the system.drawing library. There. Now we do that so we can create screenshots, which you can use as part of your tests for visual verification of things like thumbnails or whether the page is structured correctly. Alternatively, you can also use it for capturing errors. So if in your code a test goes wrong, where you catch that error, you can actually tell the browser to go ahead and take a screenshot, because I'm probably going to be interested in that when I'm debugging my test. So we've checked system.drawing and OK. So they've all gone in there, all simple stuff, quick rebuild. Okay, now the next thing to do is to apply the standard WebDriver template. Now we don't need to do this. You can do things completely by hand without the standard template. It just makes things a lot easier and provides you with some handy tools. Now you can generally get that from the QA intranet page under WebDriver. You can also get it from the QA SS source safe repository to get the very latest version, but I'm not on the network at the moment, so I'm going to grab it from Notepad. So you can see all we do is we copy the entire template to the clipboard, and we're just going to paste over the contents of our generated file. Now there's only kind of one thing to keep in mind really. As I paste these in, I'm going to lose my namespace value here, so I need to put that back in by hand. That's right, so I'm going to paste it over, go to the top and correct the namespace to a WebDriver template. And what we're also going to do over here is specify our test target, which is going to be the nbs.com, and save. And with a bit of luck we should be able to build that. Okay, now if we're building correctly at this point, that means that we've copied in the standard template okay, and it also means that we've made the correct references we need to WebDriver and system drawing, so that's good. Next we need to install our browser that we're going to test on. In this case we're going to use Firefox. So if I open up Chrome, okay, now I'm going to install this here. Shouldn't take all that long, hopefully. Okay, now a standard installation would work, I imagine, but just to show you, it's installing to C program files Mozilla Firefox. That's the default directory. That's important because that's where WebDriver will look for the browser. If you want to use an installation of Firefox from a different path, you can, and you control that through code, which we will look at in a later session when we're taking a close look at the standard template. Now we don't need the maintenance service. We don't need any icons. You don't have to specify the default web browser. It shouldn't really make a difference. So that's installing now. And very quickly we'll just boot it to make sure it's healthy. Okay. Okay, now, yeah, looks healthy enough. Okay, so what we need to do now is to install a couple of add-ons that will help us write our tests. These are Firebug, which we use to inspect the page's HTML. The XPath Checker add-on, which we can use to verify any XPaths we depend on in our tests. And lastly, the WebDriver locator add-on we created. So to do that, it's pretty easy. Go to Firefox add-ons. Okay, and search for Firebug. Okay, so there we are, Firebug. Specifies no restart. Any new extensions created with the latest SDKs will probably not require a restart. I'm pretty sure the XPath Checker does though. So, okay, so that's the Firebug installed. Now we need the XPath Checker. Yeah, okay, there it is. As I thought, it will require a restart. But before we restart, we should be able to install the WebDriver locator. So WebDriver, locator, that's all we need. You can see it doesn't have the nice green button, it has kind of a yellow warning button. That's because it hasn't been through final review yet. But it's safe to use. With that installed, now I'll restart Firefox. Make sure those are all in okay. So if I go to google.com, right click in the search box. Okay, so our MBS locator is working. Inspect element with firebug, so firebug's working, and we also see view XPath, and that's our XPath checker. So we should hopefully be good to go. So just to recap, we have installed Visual Studio. We've obtained and referenced the WebDriver and WebDriver.support DLLs. We've also added a reference to the system.drawing library. We have applied the standard WebDriver template, correcting the namespace and target URL. We've installed Firefox, and we've installed our 3 extensions: Firebug, XPath Checker, and WebDriver Locator. Okay, now the last thing we need to do is to just run a test to make sure everything appears to be working. To do that, we should open up a test window. As I said earlier, our WebDriver tests are structured using unit test markup, so we need the unit test window up so we can control our tests. We do that by going to the test menu at the top there, then Windows, then Test Explorer, and I'm going to drag it over here. Okay. Now, just to make sure this works, I'm going to open up dmbs.com. Fat fingers, and we're going to enter something in the search box. So we grab a locator for the search box. We'll use this one. Copy. Close. So with the search box, I want to send some keys. Okay, and that's all we need to do. So if we save that and build succeeded. So what I'm going to do now, you can see here, actually I'm going to rename this to make it obvious. Doesn't really matter what we call it for this point. And rebuild. Okay, so you can see here in the Test Explorer window, it's listing the test we've got over here. So to run that, I just need to right click and run selected tests. Now, this should work fine, hopefully. If nothing happens at this point, it probably means your Firefox version isn't happy with WebDriver. But we seem to be healthy so far, so we're looking for some typing. There we are. And hopefully a pass. And that's it. With that pass, we've verified that all our environment is basically set up and running. We have the right version of Firefox, or one of the right versions of Firefox. We have our standard template in correctly. We've used the Firefox extensions. We've pretty much demonstrated that everything we're going to be relying on is working okay. And that's us. The next sessions will be concerning things like how to actually write the tests, element location and verification and interaction and things like that. But that's all we need for this one. So see you again.